Hello Saints fans and welcome back to another edition and another episode of OPPO View. This week we're here to discuss the upcoming game on Saturday with the GWS Giants, the orange team as some commentators like to refer to them as, and sort of go through what we can do to minimise a few of their star players, a few of their role players as well, and what we can do to get the 4 points and get above 500. We'll go through how they play the Orange Tsunami, what that actually means, and how, again, we can stop that going forward. And some key matchups that we'll look forward to that I think we can really utilise to be able to, get the upper hand on Saturday. So again, GWS, they're probably the most formed team of the competition at the moment, even though it's only a month in, but they're 4-0. They've had some really good wins, but albeit against sides that they probably should be getting wins against. So you take away round one against the reigning Premier, that's always a tough ask no matter where you play. But then you take, North Melbourne, West Coast and Gold Coast Suns as well in the last 3 games. So they're all relatively games that, you probably pencil the Giants in to win. The North Melbourne game, I was a little bit surprised they didn't actually put North Melbourne to the sword and really blow it out. I think they won by about 30 odd points, which I think in today's game isn't a blowout. That's, 5 goals. It's an easy margin to sort of bring back. And then the West Coast game over there, again, not the easiest trip, but the way the West Coast lineup is at the moment, you'd probably expect the 4 points. So let's have a look. As I said at the start, one thing they've got at the moment, and they've brought back through Kingsley as their new coach, is the Orange Tsunami. But a lot of people just refer to it as a tsunami and not sure what it actually means. So the way the tsunami works is they do like to push their defense all the way up in terms of when they're actually defending. So that will mean the likes of Riccardi, Hogan, Toby Green, Bedford, those smaller players, that forward 50 actually shrinks the ground up into sort of the back half of the ground, and then they create the turnovers, they create the intercepts. They're very much a switch the play, counter-attacking team, and then as soon as they get the ball, they just run, and they can run for days. Brent Daniels is a good one, as I mentioned. Bedford, Toby Green, Hogan's really fit, he's looking really strong at the moment. Riccardi, Callum Brown's another one, another underrated player who can, put the foot to the metal and really create space on the turnover to then allow the easy ball movement. And I think if you look at the way the Giants play from end to end, coast to coast, they're probably the smoothest and slickest team that can move the ball without, too many issues. They've got some really good ball users, both by hands and by foot. You look at Josh Kelly, Whitfield, Tom Green, Caniglio. They've got some really strong players there that really elevate that team and then can deliver it into, the forward line. And they've got 3 or 4 players who can have 3 or 4 goals on any given day. And at the end of the day, if you can do that on a consistent basis, you're going to win a lot more games of football than you're going to lose. I think that's one thing that we will look to try and minimalise, is to actually hold our grounds. And that means the likes of, Wilkie and Battle, Cordy will need to just hold their positions and really allow the instincts to come into play and not follow their man. I think the one thing that we have been really good at this year is our team defense. I think we probably conceded the most inside 50s, if not one of the most. And to be able to really still hone in on our defensive ability, we're still the 3rd best defensive team in the league at the moment. So it's really credit to Boris Enright and his team back there to be able to withstand the pressure and really create the opportunities going forward. Their midfield's absolutely elite. As I said, you've got Tom Green, you've got Caniglio, you've got Kelly, you've got Whitfield, you've got I think Perryman's in there as well. Like, they've got just a really good mix of not only star players but role players as well. Kieran Briggs is another one that I want to mention. Much like Rowan Marshall, hit out to advantage and hit outs in general, not a great asset of his. Much like Marshall, not that great when you come up against a taller ruckman. But then once the ball's on the ground, he's another midfielder. He averages 8 clearance, 11 contested possessions. Much like, I think Marshall averages 13, 14 contested and, 9 or 10 clearances a game. So once the ball is on the ground and it's in play, then he's another midfielder and really elevates that midfield to be able to use the ball. And then you've got Josh Kelly on the wing, who's probably one of the most informed wingmen at the moment. Probably, if you're doing all Australian, which is very early to start doing, but he's probably on one of those wings ready to go. So that's going to be a tough matchup for Brad Hill this week. But in saying that, Brad Hill had a really good game, I thought, especially the second half against Richmond. So I think he'll relish that challenge and really, look to capitalise that for us going forward as well. The one area that they do lack at the moment is their pressure inside 50. The way they position themselves is they do like to create their own space, but have their own sort of sections of the ground. So no matter where the ball is, if it's on the wing and it's a ball up and it's a contested possession, they will still hold their midfielders out a little bit just to create that open space, because they play on instinct, they play on movement, and they use the ball really well. The bad side of that is when it goes inside forward 50, their pressure inside forward 50 lacks. And that's, Toby Green, Toby Bedford, those, smaller players just not putting the pressure on, which will allow our ball movement coming back as a slingshot to be a lot smoother. So Wilkie, Battle, intercept possession masters of our team, then getting in the hands of Bonner, Wangani Malera, Jack Sinclair, those sort of players, to then be able to get that ball moving, get it, flowing from defence to forward 50, and really, use the orange tsunami against them in a way to slingshot back. So that's one area that we can look to dominate. Forward 50, I think we've been really struggling at the moment. Our structure just doesn't seem to be there. It's sort of like we're just sort of chucking a few players here, there, and everywhere. So I'd like to see that cleaned up just a little bit. The likes of King, Membry, I don't think Kim, Membry, Caminiti, and Sharman can all play in the same team. But that's a story for another day. So I think, trying to isolate King and Membry in that forward 50, and then playing Higgins and Butler up a little bit so that way they're front and centre. I think that's a better way of manufacturing that, forward line entries. I do just want to touch on Tom Green. I think he's an absolute star of the competition. Averages 31 disposals, 15 contested, and 7 clearances a game. He's an absolute gun inside the midfield and the head of the snake for the Giants. For me, I want to see Jack Steele go to him. Now, Jack Steele's having a fantastic year. He's probably back to his All-Australian form. I think him being accountable for Green at the contest will allow him to then get the ball and use that well going forward for us. So not a sort of matchup that, the tagging role, but in the contest and the clearance sort of aspect, I think that's a good one-on-one matchup that we can look at. And then it's going to be a big game for Liam Stocker. I thought he did a pretty good job last week. I probably called him out on teams for his game against Essendon, but I thought he responded pretty well against the Tigers. Toby Green, the best small forward in the competition, absolutely by a mile. We had Shea Bolton last week and Toby Green this week, so it doesn't get any easier. But, he showed his dominance. He kicked 5 goals against the Suns. Probably could have had a few more as well. He's just so talented. His IQ is absolutely elite. Regardless of how he acts on the field as a player, he's definitely one of the stars of the competition. So if you can minimise his impact and if you can keep him to 2 goals, I think that's a win for us. Anything above 3 or 4, and I think at the moment the small forwards are sort of getting on top of us a little bit. Bolton last week had 4, so if we can keep on top of that, keep Green to 1 or 2 goals, and allow Cordy he's done a really good job. He'll take Hogan, minimise his impact. I think that sort of sets it for a really good result, and can get the chocolates. So it is going to be a tough ask. Again, it's a game that we probably wouldn't have penciled in to win against the Giants, especially up in Canberra, but I think we do have the ability when we do play our best to create an upset. King, another tough ask for him. He's got Sam Taylor. That's going to be a really good matchup. So in sort of each part of the field, each third, there's some really good matchups to look forward to. But I do like Hill against Kelly. I think that's going to be a great sort of visual against those two. Stocker for Green to minimise his impact. I think Cordy can hold Hogan down to a goal or 2, which will be a great result for him. I think he's been having a fantastic year as the key back. And then Max King probably didn't have the impact that he wanted to against the Tigers on the scoreboard, albeit there was a little bit of a wind which didn't help him. But look for him to have a big game against Sam Taylor again, against one of the better key defenders in the league. It's a big chance for King to really show us what he's got and really catapult himself up to that conversation of being a top 5 forward in the league. So that's all for me today. Oppo view. Let's try and minimise the orange tsunami. Less foot traffic, the better. And get the ball moving our way and play our game, and who knows what can happen. So stay tuned. We'll post a lot of stuff on Saturday during the game in regards to what's happening, and then check out Jake's preview as well, and then Jake's review after the game. So that's all from me, Saints. Go Saints.